Good evening and welcome to Nakelgreen Data and Business Analytics Training. My name is Muideen Alalekanwe, as you've rightly seen on your screen. And first of all, I want to congratulate every one of us. Uh, and besides, not many people really take this step, and not many people has also invested in this particular time. Some also have that particular interest, but the timing and everything uh, might not be that available. And I really want to congratulate you and also say it's a new dawn for your transformation, which I believe is going to work out well. That's my name on the screen, and that is my LinkedIn account. If you really want to check out, I'm sure someone we linked up on LinkedIn, and of course, we can easily see how it works that particular way. Another thing I would quickly want to show us is basically our class guideline rules. We've got the do's and we got the don'ts. I'm sure we are all adults, and there is no point telling us what to do, what not to do. All these things are just guidelines to ensure that we have a productive class, and what we are learning should also go straight or see the applicability as regards so many other things that we are trying to do. So we should shun things that will distract us, at the same time do things that will make us learn faster and get things better. So there's no point going through all this. You can screen grab this, right, and save them at your will, or if you need it, we can easily send this out also. That is that as regards that. So basically, I think before we start, it's always very important for me to also know my students and to ensure that we get things clearly better. Since you've known me, you've seen me, you've known my name. So I think it's also very important for me to know your names, know what you do, and why are you interested in this class. So I think I'm going to start from someone. Yeah, so I haven't said that as regards to class guideline. I think it's also important for us to just get started into the real program itself. So what's the purpose of this particular program? Uh, why this class is very important is because we just need to like prepare ourselves for the task ahead. And from experience, I've been taking this course for over 5 years now. I have experience in IT sector for over a decade, more than a decade right now, at least going to 15 years. Yeah, more than 15 years right now, 17 years exactly. So you can imagine the vast experience I've got when it comes to this particular aspect, right? So it's from experience, I think it's always very important for us to prepare our mind as to what we intend to gain or what we intend to learn and how we really need to apply this into our day-to-day activities, life, and of course, the pathway to becoming a good data analyst. So I think it's a very, very important thing. And this is why the onboarding session is very important. So what's the purpose of this particular program? Like I said, if you stay consistent and follow the process very well, by the end of this program, by God's grace, right, you will think like an analyst, you will solve real business problems, you will build real world projects, and be confident to apply for jobs and freelance. All these, we've got testimonies, we've got people that passed through this particular class, passed through this particular session, and thank God, they are working as they've seen job, they applied for jobs and they got employed. They applied for freelance job, and of course, the confidence is always very there for them to always apply for things. So these are things that you need to like really do from your end. The objective of the program is simple: is to understand the role of the data in business decision making, learn how to collect, clean, and analyze data. This is real. This is where the real job is, right? Use tools like Excel, SQL, we call it SQL, yeah, but let's say SQL, Power BI, and Python. and to also know how to develop dashboards and reports. This is core work of a data analyst. So this particular class, we are not just going to teach ourselves how to become a data analyst. We also want to teach ourselves how to become a business analyst, because those two roles work hand in hand, right? Business analyst and this data analyst, uh, there are two different positions, two different work, right? But they work hand in hand. But this particular class, we are going to teach or learn both together. And how do we communicate insights effectively? Just like every other job or every other program generally, communication is key. Communication is key. As a business analyst, communication is like 90% or 98% of your job, right? Communication is 98% of your job. So that's why communication is also very key. And this class will also teach us those, how do you communicate your insights effectively for major stakeholders, and of course, to build a strong professional portfolio. The role of data in today's world. Data is not new to every one of us any longer, and we understand why data is very key. I just picked one of four sectors, but I want to tell you for free that data analysis involves in all sectors. Just imagine any sector in this world, data analysis, data is always involved, right? And because we are in Nigeria, and I think Nigeria is becoming a data-driven society, because I've worked with some parastatals. I've seen how it works. I've seen how they really get their data, they analyze data, and how they are using those data to make informed decision. Even in this election, this forthcoming election, you see how data are flying, and they are using those data to make informed decision. So, like you can see on your screen, we've got the banking industry, and in Nigeria, fintech has now taken the whole space right now. Fintech has taken the whole space, and one of those key things is data driven. We want to know how many fintechs do we have in Nigeria, how many customers are inclined with the fintech, what is the difference between when it first came around 2019, 2020, and right now, what is the accessibility? Data will give you all these things. We have the e-commerce, we've got the healthcare sector, and I'm happy we've got nurses in the house, right? So we understand all these things. Then marketing, we've got entrepreneur also in the house, right? So we've got marketing, e-commerce. So all these things are things that are very key into our day-to-day activities. So the key truth is data is useless without interpretation for obvious reasons. In Nigeria, especially in the oil and gas sector, they have numerous data, like countless data, but those data are very useless without interpretation. So analysts turns all this data into actionable insight. So and that's why you are there. So as a data analyst, there is nowhere you cannot work. You can work in the X sector, you can work in oil and gas sector, the banking sector, um, just name it. Name all those sectors. IT sector, aviation sector, health sector, finance sector. Just name any sector. Data, where data is involved, you will be able to work perfectly well in that particular area. So the real thing is key. And why are we doing all these things? We are doing them is just for us to understand some theoretical aspect of this work we'll be doing. We cannot just go into working with those tools without the proper understanding of all these basic things. And all these basic things are also very useful, will be useful maybe during interviews. Yeah, they will be useful during interviews, during analysis, and of course, explaining things and using some keywords, right? So all these things are there, and that is why it's important for us to also have this class and this session very well. So What is business analysis? So business analysis is the process of identifying business needs, understanding the problem, and recommending solution using data. Three keywords: identifying business needs, understanding problems, and recommending solutions using data. And these are key things you'll be doing as an analyst. Those are the three key things you'll be doing as an analyst. You want to understand the business needs, understand the problem, and of course, recommend solution using data. Identifying business needs, it's by reading the charter, right? Reading the charter from the major stakeholder, right? From there, you understand the business needs, you understand their problem, what are they facing? And based off the data given to you, or data that you have, you can easily recommend solution after you might have done or run some analysis on those data. So, role of a business analyst is to bridge gap between a business and the data, translate problem into data question, very key, provide insights for decision making. So, what are the core responsibilities, requirements? You need to gather data itself. That's requirement gathering, right? Gather the data itself from every angle that you think the data needs to be gathered. You need to interpret those data, then you need to communicate what you see, your insights, what you've seen with the stakeholder. That was why I said communication is key, very key as a business analyst. Communication is key as a business. So business analyst is just like a project manager on a field, right? A project manager is just like the Oga Patapata that supervise a link between the financier of the project or the sponsor of the project. The one, let me use this typical example: building a house. If you want to build a house or build a big mansion, or say a store, a big store in Lekki or Aja, right? You will need a project manager. And the project manager does not necessarily mean an engineer. Project manager is someone that understands the business of that particular project, understands the project, and of course, knows how to communicate what the engineers needs to the stakeholder and what the stakeholder wants to the engineer. So you can see communication is key. You should know the right way to communicate to both parties. And that's why I said communication is one of those things we need to like cater and work with. Then reporting and visualization. So these are the major things we'll be working with. And what are the type of analytics that we'll be doing? So most of the time, most data we'll be working on are always descriptive analytics. Descriptive analytics, right? So, and what do we mean by descriptive? From the word describe, right? Describe what is happening in your business. So, what has happened, right? The next one is diagnostics, analytics. So, why did it happen? So, these are questions that you'll be asking yourself through the data, and you will get answer. What happened? They tell you, why did this happen? Oh, there is a loophole. Someone is making sure, someone is making sure that the product you are selling does not really goes out, or someone is sabotaging your effort. So you've got someone taking off your money, and that's why you're not making enough profit. Or you've got someone diverting your customers from this particular store to another store. Or you've got shortage in staffs, right? And that's so many things. So from the diagnostic analytics, then we move to the predictive analytics. So which is talking about what will happen, right? Okay, based on what is happening right now, these are the things that will happen if care is not taken. And if you take this particular step, these are things that would happen. And that is where the prescriptive analysis comes into play. Prescriptive analysis is just combination of predictive and descriptive. So when you combine the two together, you can easily understand and know what to do, right? So these are things that we're working with, and most of the time we're working with the descriptive analysis. Descriptive analysis, that's where we'll be using the mean, the media, the mode, the average, all these uh, functions, right? Talking about the sum, the mean, the media, and the mode, right? So we'll be using that. Predictive, that's where we'll be we'll be talking about forecast, we're talking about the t-test, the ANOVA, right? That is what we'll be talking about, all these things. Then prescriptive is the combination of those two things, right? So, and that makes things works better and gives us a proper understanding of what is happening to that particular to the data we are working with or not. So, having said all that, I think it's important for us to know the roadmap, the program roadmap. And someone really talked about it, talking about the roadmap to becoming a data analyst. And most people always take things from let me say the hardest, right? But the most important thing is just for us to start from the simplest. So from in our class, there's this particular things that we do. We start from known to unknown. So we start with something that you know, and based on those things that you know, we keep building ourselves. We keep building ourselves up until where we know, oh, this is where we are supposed to be. And it's not going to be as tedious or as difficult as you might think, because the way we started from what you know to right. We keep learning and keep referring to what you know to explain what you don't know. And that has always been our model of teaching. So here we we splitted this into four phases. We have the phase one, which is the foundation. Then we'll be working with Excel itself, right? So here we're talking with data thinking. How do we think about data? What do you really know about data? Then we use Excel for analysis. Then yeah, we also talked about data cleaning. Here we talk about data cleaning. So I want to tell you that Excel itself is enough for data analysis. Excel itself is enough for data analysis. And you will see how you will use Excel for data analysis. Complete data analysis, complete from the beginning to the end. And within these 1 to 3 weeks, these are things that we'll be talking about. We are going to show us how to use Excel for data analysis from using the data cycle, which I'm going to show us in a few minutes right now. And our phase two, we're talking about data handling. And because Excel has some limitations, and that is where SQL come into place. SQL is called structured query language. If you are used to working with web developers or web development, you understand what SQL really means. It's a structured query language. So it's a way of storing a massive data, right? And once you store those data in the database, how you query them or how you get those data out is called a query. How you get those data out from where it is being stored is called what? Querying. You understand? It's called what? Query. So SQL is now like a structured way of querying those data out of where it is being stored. And where are they stored? They are always stored in a place called database. In a place called database. Those places can be physical place. So on your system, we can create a database on your system. And we can also create those databases in the cloud or data centers. So I don't like using the word cloud because it always gives one imaginary space in this cloud. And whereas we don't have any space in the cloud at all. So we call them data centers. The data centers that are connected to each other. So which means my data can be in the US today, tomorrow. If anything happens to that data center in the US, they can transfer everything within a second to another data center in the UK. Right? So Now that is the essence of the cloud networking itself. Uh, Compared to you just having a server somewhere placed in Nigeria, and if that data center or that server house is burnt off, all your data is also gone. Right ahead, that's different. So SQL, we are going to talk about SQL, talk about database querying and data extraction. And those are the things you'll be working with. Very easy, very simple. And after that, we go to visualization. Like I said, Excel in phase one, we'll also talk about visualization and see how we can also design our dashboard in Excel. Yeah, using Excel. Yeah, we are going to talk about visualization in a more professional way using Power BI. So once you know how to use Power BI, automatically you'll be able to use Tableau. Power BI, the difference between the two is they do the same work. They have almost the same interface, right? But one is developed by Microsoft and the other is developed by Google. One is developed by Microsoft, the other is developed by Google, and that is just basic difference. They are both developed to also make sure we get our dashboard ready in a more professional way and using more tools to describe our insights. Excel is limited to some charts, but Power BI or Tableau gives you access to so many other tools to describe your insights. So many other beautiful tools to describe your insight. Yeah, we'll talk about dashboard development in a more advanced way. Then we'll talk about KPI tracking also here. Then the phase four, which is very key. This is where we'll be talking about Python for data analysis. And don't forget, for every phase, we always have our capstone project. For every phase, we'll be having our capstone project, and those projects will also be either teamwork or individual work. So for phase one, we have our project. For phase two, we have our project. For phase three, we have our project. And for phase four, we have our project for that phase using Python. However, we will have an entirely combined project, right? For the after the whole class that will serve as our total capstone project, and that will also use for building portfolios and gives that mentality of you becoming a data analyst. So these are the tools we'll be using: the Microsoft Excel, the SQL, the Power BI, Tableau, and Python. So we have our learning methodology. This class is going to be 70% hands-on practice, 30% conceptual learning, and we'll be working with the real data set. Yeah, for real. We'll solve real problems for real. We'll be building projects together, and we'll also present insights. Yeah, we'll also do some seminars. When I mean seminars, once you are given your capstone project, your project for every individual phase, you come back to class to present what you've seen and based on what we've done in class, and that will give you an insight of whatever thing you're trying to do. And all this journey will also mark your experience as a data analyst. So I can bet it with you that if you are going to go for an interview and they're asking some questions as regards your experience as a data analyst, I can bet it with you that all the journey so far in this class will serve as the experience that you'll be talking about during the interview process. It has happened before. I've seen it happen times without number with my students, and they've always described what happened in class as their own experience, and that gives a real insight as regards what you are doing and how best you know what you are doing. And yeah, this is just a capstone project, the way it's going to look like and how we are going to do these other things generally. And once you are done, I just want to show us career opportunities to becoming a data analyst. I'm becoming a data analyst, a business analyst, a reporting analyst, and a business intelligence analyst. BI analyst is business intelligence analyst, reporting analyst, business analyst, and a data analyst. So we've got opportunity path, and either way works. Do you understand? Either way works.
Yeah.
So, and either way
Yes, sir.
works, depending on what you really want to do. And yeah, so this is very key to learning. And I think it's important for me to also show you this. This is also called data analysis cycle. And I think it's also very important for me to show you how it works. Uh, I want to explain this in real terms, very, very clearly. So it's called data analysis cycle. And for every project you want to do, you need to follow these steps, these 7 steps. For every individual project you want to do as a data analyst, you want to follow these 7 steps. And what are those steps? What are those steps? So the first one talks about goal. So I think I need to create a sample first. So yeah, so we can say goals. That's the first step. We can say goals. Let me just write it here. So what do I mean by goals? Goals here is as goals and objective of this particular project. So you understand the problem. So if you don't understand the problem, you cannot get the goal. So goals is just trying to take what do you intend to achieve? What do we intend to achieve with this particular problem? So understand the problem. That is the first thing we need to do. Ask right questions, right? Ask right questions. So how do we do all this? Is by communicating with the financiers or the stakeholders. So in a company that has so many departments, it means if you are working with employee, maybe they're having problem with their employee, these are people you want to work with. These are the major stakeholders in that field. HR department, the managing director, all other departments that involves um, human personnel, right? Every other department that involves human personnel, you would want to like ask questions, and that will gives you an insight to whatever thing you really want to do. So the next thing is to understand, collect relevant data, get data. That's the next step. So next step is to get data. So here there are different types of data. We have the primary data, we have the secondary data, and we have the tertiary data. The primary data are the data that you collected yourself, those data that you administer yourself. You know, while you were doing your project, be it masters, be it bachelor's project, you were able to go to the field. If you did not even go to the field, you were in the laboratory to get those particular data, and those type of data are called primary data because you know the source of those data. You know the source of those data, and those sources are primary to you. You went to the field yourself to get those data yourself, right? So that is one part. You have the secondary data set. Secondary data set are data sets that are gotten from authorities. For example, WHO. When you are looking for data sets on health and you want to get it, you are getting those data from WHO. You believe WHO is an authority in that field. So any data they are giving out, they must have invested a whole lot into that data. And those data are also reliable. Those data are what? Reliable. Maybe you are getting data if you are looking for children data set, maybe in Nigeria, and you're looking for there, and you feel, okay, I can easily go to UNICEF and get this particular data set. If you are getting UNICEF data, we can say, okay, yeah, the defense data is also reliable because this is their core. And if you are going in Nigeria, let's come back home. There is this particular statistical bureau called NBS, National Statistical Bureau, NSB, I think, at the NBS. I mean, Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, I think. So any data they also supply, we want to assume those data are also what? Good. They are also reliable. The authenticity of that data is also perfect. We want to assume that because for you to claim this is a bureau or this is a particular parastatal that works with data and that helps analyze our data based off whatever thing the government is doing, then we can say whatever thing they are pulling out or chucking out or giving out to the public to consume is also reliable. So we can say their data set. So if I'm using their data set to work, so we can say the source of my data is a secondary data set. And the last one, which is a tertiary data set, are data set that we don't know their sources. So and they are real. For example, most of the data sets we'll be working with here are data sets of that kind of nature. But they are real, but we don't know their source. But we cannot use those data sets for a national or a general decision making. So for example, maybe I have a data set that has all the states in Nigeria. And those data sets, and the data set I have, I don't even know the source. I can use that data set for practice to understand what is happening, but I cannot generalize based on that particular data set. I can only generalize based on primary data set and secondary data set, but I cannot use tertiary data set for insights that will affect the whole community or affect so many other things in our life or business or the business generally, right? So tertiary data sets are data sets that we do not know its sources. For example, we have data from Kaggle, we have data from Google, we have Google data, we have data from Microsoft, we have so many other data sets that we don't know their sources, but we can easily use them for learning purposes. So after you have done that, then the next one is talking about let me just bring this down. Then the next one is talking about cleaning data. Data cleaning. Data cleaning is one of the most important aspects when it comes to data analysis. So it's just like the 80% of your time can be invested in data cleaning alone, right? Because for you to be able to analyze your data, the data you want to analyze must be clean. Clean of error, clean of so many things, right? Error in all sphere. Error in all sphere. Missing data. If they are missing data, how do we get those missing data? Because it's going to affect your results. Imagine you are making so amount of money every day. You are making like 50,000 naira every day on your business. And because a particular data is missing and it's showing you are making 20,000 naira every day. So you'll be very, very happy. You'll be like, what is happening? And because the data is not clean, and that is why you're having that particular issue. So your decision based on unclean data will be false. You are making 50,000 naira, whereas it's 20,000 naira is showing on your dashboard. It shows you tend to tell yourself you are not working, you don't do this, and perhaps your target is to make 50,000 naira per day. You are making 20,000 and it's consistent. I'll be like, we are doing every other thing and we are making 20,000. It shows someone is sabotaging our efforts, or it shows you are not doing the right thing at the right time. You might want to even sack your salespeople or your workers. Whereas there is a particular missing link in your data set, and that's why it's not giving you the real deal. You are making wrong decision based on what you are seeing. So the essence of cleaning data is to make sure that whatever you are making as a decision is correct and is going to affect your company positively. Do you understand? And that is why most times most companies invest their time in making sure they clean the data very well, because the integrity of the data needs to be ascertained. The integrity of the data needs to be what? Ascertained. Very, very important. After you might have done that, then we do what is called EDA. This is just a way of expanding or doing some elucidation when it comes to data analysis. I've cleaned my data, right? There's some data transformation I want to do, and that is a way of preparing our data. There is data transformation I need to do that will enhance making good and better decision. So what's the full meaning of EDA? Yeah? Who can tell me the full meaning of EDA? Someone could just try. Oh.
Exploratory data analysis.
What did you say?
Exploratory
Wow,
data
makes sense,
analysis.
makes sense, makes sense, makes sense, makes sense. So this is just like a way of exploring exploratory data analysis. Yeah. So I intentionally asked just for us to know we are also following. So exploratory data analysis is just a way of trying as much as possible to also see how best we can get our insights, right? How best we can get our insight. One, we do some transformation. Two, we try as much as possible to also get some other columns from the existing column. So, for example, I have a column that deals with age or salaries, and I've got over 300,000 data or 300,000 employee. It's a multinational. So I can't be analyzing individuals' data. The only way to do that is to group them, have a group age. So I'm having an age between ages 18 to ages 35 as youth. I'm going to create a new group based on the a new column rather. I'm going to create a new column based on the existing column that we have, right? So I can call that age band, age group, or age anything. And this is the aspect of EDA. This is what EDA really entails. And that is why we need to prepare. And that is where data preparation also comes into place. So after I might have done that, then we might want to do data analysis. We might want to analyze our data. And that is where we will be working with some pivot table, bringing two columns together, analyzing two columns together, either by comparing, describing, or trying to check for trends. And this is where data analysis come into place by analyzing your data. Let me just say data analysis. So after you might have done this, then the last but not the least is data visualization itself. So here we draw our insights, we communicate. So this is where we communicate our findings, right? We do data visualization here. This is where we communicate our findings via dashboard or data stories. Via what? Data visualization, via either dashboard or data story. So either dashboard or data stories have its own advantage, right? If you are using data story, that's its own advantage and disadvantage. If you are using dashboard, it has its own advantage and disadvantage. But most times, we work with dashboard. And why do we really work with dashboard? Is because it gives real-time information about those data. So if there is a change in the data, the dashboard automatically shows that there is a change. But in data story, because you've written it based off what you've seen, if there is a change in data, it cannot update itself because it's a story. Do you get the drift? It cannot update itself. But one of its advantage is most stakeholders enjoy reading your story, your data story better because it is self-explanatory compared to the dashboard. They enjoy reading it. They enjoy working with data story. But one of the disadvantages, which might be catastrophic, which might be very, very, very grievous, it does not do real-time updates. And we might really need that particular update at that particular point in time. And that's why we would also teach ourselves both. And our major is going to be on dashboard. The major is going to be on dashboard. For data story, we'll also touch on data story and see how we get the data stories better. So this is called a data analysis cycle. And this is what we'll be doing for every project. So once we are used to all these things, I can bet it with you within seconds as we'll just see that we are going through this cycle all over and over again, even without going through this cycle. I'm sure you must have written it down, but even without going through this cycle, you will observe or see that naturally you are going through this cycle. Because for you to get the best out of whatever thing you really want to do, you must follow this cycle. And this is what is called analytical thinking framework. Right? So I've been able to explain everything. So in my own language, just for you to understand all these things, communicate findings is basically about visualization. Analyze data and draw insights is basically about the data analysis that I've explained using either pivot table or using some other pandas in Python, NumPy in Python, in Power BI also, we have our data, our table field to get all these things done. So clean and prepare data is talking about data cleaning and EDA itself. Then I explain what getting the data source means, right? So I explain we have a primary data set, secondary data set, and tertiary data set. We talk about goals, which means you need to understand the problem of the data or problem of whatever thing you're trying to work with and ask the right questions. And based on that, you can easily get the best out of whatever thing you're trying to do. Let me clean this up. Okay, so what is going to be our learning approach? Our learning approach, which is what we've been doing, is you will learn by doing. We have hands-on sessions generally. Peer learning and group learning, very key. Then we also do weekly check-ins and mentorship. So what we do in this session is we can set aside a day in a week or a day in a fortnight where we just discuss what we've been doing. No class, no session. What we'll be doing is we just discuss what we've done so far in class. We talk about what you don't understand, explain it better. And if you have any other question that you think you were not able to ask during the class, we can easily ask that also and get it. So this is basically about helping us to get better in whatever field we are trying to do. Then we should also know that we also prioritize progress over perfection mindset. Yeah, we prioritize progress over perfection mindset. So which means the way you are today should be a bit better tomorrow. And in our class, mistakes are bound to happen. So we're always happy when we make mistakes during our, so that is why we always want us to talk in class, participate in every activities that we're doing. And based on that, I'm sure you keep progressing. And before you know it, you become a better data analyst over time. Right. So, and this is just the last slide, which is the tip for success. So we stay curious and stay open to learning. Then another thing which I think might really help is daily practice. It's very, very key, right? At least 20 minutes of daily practice will help. Maybe perhaps 20 minutes of video. I can bet it with you if a video is 1 hour. I mean, not this class, general class. If it is 1 hour, I can bet it with you, you might not finish it until like say 2, 3 hours. If you are watching, I want to practice or do exactly that we're trying to do. But if that time does not really come into place, so we can at least 20 minutes, take 20 minutes out of the time, watch the video, implement whatever thing you've seen there, and that becomes part of you. Before you know it, it becomes part of you. It becomes what you want to do every day. And ask questions, please. When stuck, you need to ask questions. Ask questions in the group, ask questions individually. My DM is always open. Ask question, and once I see it, I will always want to respond. And if it warrants even setting up a Zoom class or setting up a Google Meet class, I would do that just to make sure you get these things better. Then then we can build a portfolio with our class project. So all the class projects that you're doing. So for every project that we do in class, it's a must for you to replicate that. It's a must for everything we do in class. Is a must for you to replicate that. And those projects or those class works are things that we use to grade you at the end of the course. So thank you. If you have any question, you can ask now before we move straight to the real deal itself. Any question, please? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir, we can hear you. Me, I don't have any question.
Joseph, I can barely hear you.
Okay.
I think everything is well explained. I don't have a question.
Okay. So, so I think one of those things we need to discuss also